right now on 5 on your side at 10.
Warmer, becoming windy to start the week. I'll let you know what day we'll be flirting with record high temperatures and then when we'll see some rain.
New tonight, she spent nearly 3 decades on air.
So energetic and happy and full of life.
A beloved Y98 radio announcer loses her battle with breast cancer.
She was so vulnerable and inspirational on the radio.
Stories from behind the mic, from those Jennifer Myers inspired.
We're forever grateful for how she embraced us as a cause.
We want to thank you for joining us after the game. I'm Brent Solomon. Mike Bush has the night off. Tonight, an outpouring of support from St. Louis radio listeners. Jennifer Farmer went by Jennifer Myers on air. Our Annie Krall sat down with some of her closest friends who are tonight remembering a legend.
Jennifer Farmer woke up St. Louisans for 15 years on the Y98 airwaves.
Baby boy was going to be named
Rock.
This after more than a decade being a radio personality in New York and Des Moines.
Energetic and happy and full of life and smart, but really just an amazing friend.
Emily Sedlak became friends with Farmer 24 years ago while working at Y98. She talked openly on air about her 8-year battle with breast cancer, going off the radio waves in 2022 due to her health.
I've been so lucky to do this job for as long as I have.
But continuing to help other women in the bi-state by spreading awareness about prevention and getting scans, the same mission of The Office actress Jenna Fisher, who's from St. Louis. Take a look at this photo of the two of them, years before the actress spoke candidly about her breast cancer diagnosis on The Today Show.
And I've thought about often how hard it must have been for her to have to go through such a private and personal thing in such a public space. But it was something that she embraced.
The disease took Farmer's life last Thursday. She was 49.
She was not going to miss a single baseball game screaming in the stands. She was going to every horseback riding lesson. She just got every single bit of the good stuff. So I know that all of us would say that she did not get enough minutes, but the minutes that she had, she made them count.
Farmer raised thousands for Pedal the Cause, an organization that raises millions for Siteman Cancer Center and Siteman Kids.
When Jen said yes to lending her local celebrity to the cause, we were so grateful because we knew the power of those relationships and that stature within the community.
The fighting mentality Farmer will be remembered for.
She just wasn't going to lose anything. A lot of times people say that she lost her battle with cancer. And I just think that she is in the great beyond saying, I didn't lose anything, people.
Annie Krall, 5 on your side.
There will be a public visitation for Farmer tomorrow evening from 4 until 7 to hold space for her family, friends, and fans at the Gathering Church on McCausland Avenue. You can also find a GoFundMe link to support Farmer's 2 children and her husband Ryan on our website, KSDK.com. Let's go ahead and get a live look over downtown St. Louis right now. A pretty calm night as we speak, but get ready for things to get a bit windy. For that, let's check in with meteorologist Jim Castillo with that weather impact forecast.
Yeah, hi Brent. So today, 60s for highs. As we get into tomorrow, generally 70s, but very close to 80. And then we'll be well into the 80s Tuesday and near a record high temperature. But right now we're at 53. Now this morning we started out at 40 in St. Louis and even 31 in Chesterfield. So areas of frost this morning. And then, of course, we're going to see a warmer night tonight. It looks like 68 for that high today, which is about 4 degrees above average. So overnight lows tonight in the 40s in most areas, maybe a couple spots in the 30s. And then look what happens as we get throughout Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. 78 Monday, the record high is 85. Tuesday, 85 for the high. The record is 86. So we'll be very close to that. Wouldn't be surprised to hit it. And 84 on Wednesday, and 90 is a record. Plus, it's going to be really windy. We'll talk about that. And our next chance of rain, I'll let you know when that happens coming up.
All right, Jim, stay close. A hit-and-run driver kills a man trying to cross the street in his wheelchair. This happened last night on Goodfellow Boulevard near St. Louis Avenue. Police say the 63-year-old victim was crossing the street when that driver hit him, dragging him for blocks. The man ended up on Goodfellow Place, but the driver kept going. Police say if you know anything about this crime, call Crime Stoppers at 866-371-TIPS. Well, one of the men accused of assaulting an off-duty officer is scheduled to appear in court tomorrow. Donnie Hurley and 2 others were charged with multiple crimes, including kidnapping, for an incident back in September. Court documents say witnesses saw the suspect shout racial slurs at that officer. Documents also say the officer failed a sobriety test. Hurley's hearing is set for 1:30 in the afternoon. A St. Louis County executive warning senior citizens to beware of events claiming to sign you up for property tax freezes. The events offer help for seniors who want to apply for the tax credit, but they're organized by groups that are not connected with the county. County Executive Sam Page says the county isn't sure if all of these groups have good intentions. He's concerned they could compromise your personal information.
We don't want this program to be swept up in that, and certainly someone could try and take advantage of seniors, get their personal identifying information or their property records, and we want to make sure that anyone who's trying to help them out of goodwill has the proper procedures set up.
Now, next June is the deadline to apply for the senior tax freeze. St. Louis County recommends you go to any of the 4 county locations for help applying. AT&T is moving jobs from St. Louis to other cities. The company says this will involve several hundred positions in our area. AT&T says it's to help strengthen the company's other offices. Earlier this month, the AT&T also announced it would move more positions back to the downtown St. Louis office. Today, hundreds of people gathering in Creve Coeur for a 5K run, raising money for Palestine. Hundreds of thousands of children have suffered during Israel's year-long military offensive in Gaza. Travis Cummings shows us how one group is working to help.
Thank you for helping me in Gaza.
Number 1 in this 5K line is 12-year-old Hadi Zakut. The young man is still smiling after losing his leg in a devastating bombing that struck his home in central Gaza.
Honestly, he's happy to be here. You know, he's a lot. He has a lot of more opportunities than a lot of the kids in Gaza right now. He was able to get a prosthetic leg, and it doesn't change him. He's able to walk still, so he's like any other kid.
Zakut was the first guest and patient with Heal Palestine in St. Louis. The Global Healing Program is dedicated to providing children with tools to recover.
HEAL, it stands for health, education, aid, and leadership. Help the kids of Gaza to be prepared for the future without carrying all this burden.
They reeled in money for their first 5K, drawing more than 800 people to Creve Coeur Park on Sunday.
We appreciate people getting their humanity and trying to do something for the whole community.
Good. Nice to see you.
It brought out Noelle Abahanda, who has been in St. Louis her whole life, but here's the cries from our family in Jerusalem.
I've been in mourning practically my whole life as a Palestinian.
Abahanda puts that pain into her nonprofit, a Muslim scouting organization, leading and teaching young people.
We started after disbanding from the Girl Scouts for the hypocrisy towards raising money for Palestine.
The group raised $30,000 through making and selling these bracelets and sponsors these patches to wear and sell to support HEAL.
We have to care for the world, make the world a better place for everybody.
It's all to give the thousands of other children impacted in Gaza another chance at life.
May God protect them, and hopefully nothing happens to them and they stay safe.
Travis Cummings, 5 on your side.
Heal Palestine is supporting 28 kids from Gaza right now. Hadi is being treated at Shriners Hospital here in our area. The nonprofit is working to pair 2 more children with host families.
Fighting to stay above water.
This area that I grew up in that I knew that I no longer recognized.
The efforts to get North Carolina back on its feet following Hurricane Helene.
Windy and warm through Wednesday, and then a timeout shower and thunderstorm chances into early Halloween morning.
Well, it's been a month now since Hurricane Helene devastated North Carolina, causing billions of dollars worth of damage all across the state. CNN's John Lawrence shows us how people there are working to return to some sense of normal as relief efforts continue.
This flood hit 27. I mean, you can see the flood water Mark.
Hurricane Helene is long gone, but the aftermath remains.
There was some video of an area that I knew intimately in western North Carolina, and when they sent the video, I didn't know what I was looking at. And it was stunning to me to see this area that I grew up in, that I knew, that I no longer recognized.
On Saturday, Eric Church and nearly a dozen other musical acts held a benefit concert in Charlotte to help the victims of the storm.
We got a platform, and if God's going to give us this ability to use that platform to raise money for people who need it, that's the best thing you can do in life.
Show officials say all proceeds will go to hurricane relief efforts, including businesses trying to get reestablished.
We've done $18,000 of refunds so far. So I'm like taking the money that we've raised for rebuilding the restaurant and just using it to refund the hotel rooms.
As for the week ahead, students in Asheville are returning to the classroom with a modified schedule.
The focus isn't going to be jumping right back into academics, but really taking time to connect with their friends, to get back into a sense of normalcy in a gradual way. And then on Wednesday, we'll be back to our full schedules.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
North Carolina schools now have electricity, internet, and running water, but officials say it's not safe for students to drink that water just yet. Time now for that weather impact forecast. Meteorologist Jim Castillo joining us with that. Jim, you said we're going to get some pretty windy conditions.
Very windy. You know, tomorrow breezy, gust about 25, maybe 27, Brent. By Tuesday, gust over 35 miles an hour, possibly as high as 40. So great flying weather today, and here's Lambert live right now. But as we get throughout the week, you know, not only rain chances ramp up by Wednesday night and early on Halloween morning. And it was a huge Halloween weekend here in St. Louis. What a beautiful weekend it was. Okay, there's 4 of us that judged the pet costume contest, and that was early on Saturday. So just wanted to show you some pictures here. Here's the vampire, and not only do you dress up yourself, also your pet, or you can just dress up the pets. But here's Wizard of Oz. You can't see Toto the dog there. Then the urchins, sea urchins, and then there's the Addams family, and of course the dog there is Cousin It, if you know the Addams family. But yeah, we had a really good time out there. Beautiful weather for it, and it was a chilly start to today. So Sunday, we had some areas of frost, and right now we're at 43 in Chesterfield. This morning it was 31. So there's going to be some cold spots, but warmer air is beginning to work into western Missouri here, as high pressure over the Great Lakes kept us pretty chilly each and every morning. So dry air's in place, and then you get this clear sky tonight. No matter where you are, it's clear. And then those overnight lows, some of us may be dropping into the upper 30s, but a little warmer than last night. Still pretty chilly in the low 40s outside of St. Louis, upper 40s in the city. And then tomorrow it's breezy, but 78 for that high, 81 in Columbia, 84 in Kansas City. And those wind gusts up to about 25 miles an hour. It's a dry day, some high clouds moving in, and the future wind gust out here, here's 5 p.m. tomorrow. Very gusty out there, 25 plus miles an hour. And then here we go Tuesday at 5 p.m. Some of those gusts over 35 miles an hour. So Tuesday and Wednesday, secure any loose objects outside, you know, maybe on the porch. You might have a chair sitting out there. Just know that they might tumble over pretty quickly, and also the garbage cans. So it's windy, and then the rain chances ramp up as we get into Wednesday night. But most of that rain should end by early on Halloween morning. And then it's really nice the rest of Halloween, and 66 for that high. But before that happens, 85 on Tuesday, which is near a record high.
We got to make sure the trick-or-treaters are set for, you know what I mean, on Halloween Day. But I see some rain chances there.
Yeah, only in the morning it looks like.
All right, very good. Yeah. Thank you, Jim.
You bet.
Still ahead, a Senate struggle. Multiple states now in the national spotlight. The key races that could ignite a power shift in Washington. Some pretty big crowds last week for the start of no excuse absentee voting in Missouri. Other states are seeing the same impact at the polls. Early voting started today in New York and in Michigan. Officials in New York reported more than 140,000 people voted today. More than 100,000 cast their ballots in Michigan.
So far, we were very pleased with what we saw in terms of the absentees that were coming out here in the state. Listen, I believe that we have a ground game like we've never had in Michigan before.
More than 80,000 people in the St. Louis area have already voted. You have until the day before the election day to vote early. While all eyes are on the race for the White House, it's the battle in the Senate playing out across multiple states that could shape the new president's agenda. NBC's Alice Barr shows us what could lead to a shift in power.
As Vice President Harris and former President Trump battle down to the wire, hotly contested congressional races are more quietly shaping the balance of power in Washington.
This is an election that you can't sit out.
Texas Representative Colin Allred challenging Senator Ted Cruz.
There has never been a starker choice.
In what could be Democrats' only chance to flip a Senate seat, the party's narrow two-seat majority is at risk, with competitive races for 8 Senate seats now held by Democrats, including bright red states like Montana, where Democratic incumbent John Tester has managed to hold on for 3 terms, 18 years.
Raised within 100 miles from where I was born.
But where former President Trump is widely popular.
We also voted to impeach Donald Trump twice.
And the partisan divide is now so wide that voters willing to stretch across to split their ticket may be vanishing.
When it's in the most extreme part of the swing, it somehow is difficult in a given moment to imagine that it can be different. And yet, of course, it can be different.
Longtime Senate staffer Martin Gold has closely watched the political pendulum swing.
I've been in Washington 60 years.
He points to a time when the parties were more internally fractured.
You had at that time major divisions within the party caucuses themselves. You had liberal Republicans. I worked for a couple of them, and you had conservative Republicans, and you had liberal Democrats and conservative Democrats. So party line voting was not common. You tended to get more cooperation across party lines.
One way to break through the partisan gridlock, change the Senate rules. For example, Vice President Harris recently backed suspending the 60-vote filibuster to restore federal abortion rights.
I think we need to take a look at the filibuster, to be honest with you.
That would bypass Republican objections, but
taking away the filibuster is a big accelerant to polarization.
So what can make a difference?
We feel these things at a very identity level.
George Washington University assistant professor Casey Burgett has this advice.
I always tell folks that if you are frustrated with politics, the worst thing you can do is step back from politics.
A critical reminder that leaders in Washington, in fact, are led by the voters and the power of the ballot. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And Missouri's Senate seat is also up for grabs this November. For more information, check out our voter guide on KSDK.com. Text the word guide to 314-425-5355. Coming up, trick-or-treating in the backseat. The local event ahead of Halloween. Well, folks, things got a little scary in Creve Coeur today. The city's Neighborhood Watch and Police Department hosted a trunk or treat event. Trick-or-treaters went from car to car, collecting as much candy as they could. The event also featured decorated police cars and a costume contest. A big congratulations to my colleagues here at 5 on Your Side. KSDK brought home 4 Emmy Awards this weekend. Mike Bush won 3 of those awards for Best Writing, News Feature, and Sports Story, while our sports anchor Frank Cusimano won Best Sportscast. This year's Mid-America Emmy Awards were held outside of Kansas City. Stay right here. Another 30 minutes of news and weather is next, followed by Sports Plus and The Record.
This is 5 on Your Side at 10. Focused on you.
Thank you for joining us for your late news. I'm Brent Solomon. Tonight, friends and family are remembering a St. Louis radio legend. Jennifer Farmer was known on air as Jen Myers. The Y98 radio personality battled cancer for nearly 8 years. She died last week. She was an active member of her community, taking part in the annual Pedal the Cause to help raise money for cancer research. Friends say she'd do anything to help others.
The Jen and that we knew and loved was just all of that and more, you know, really just always giving back, always there for the people that she loved, always there for people in the community, willing to help out in any way she could.
There's a public visitation tomorrow. It will happen from 4 until 7 at the Gathering Church in Ellendale. This morning, more than 800 people took part in a 5K for Palestine. The group Heal Palestine is dedicated to helping the hundreds of thousands of children impacted by the ongoing war in Gaza. Heal Palestine is supporting 28 kids from Gaza right now. The group is also working to pair 2 more children with host families. Well, there are some hidden gems in St. Louis, including one unassuming South City building. It's giving its owner a safe space to create. It's also offering an opportunity to give back to the local art community. Following your side's Rennie Knott takes us to the 31 Art Gallery.
Along Hampton, in a gray building, you'll find a surprise.
People walk in and you actually hear in the background, you'll hear, whoa, wow.
A place with color and creativity everywhere.
They'll be like, I can't believe this place exists.
Spaces.
And the space really became a piece of art in its own.
Created by Jared Minnick.
Every Saturday and Sunday for 2.5 years, I was here working on the space.
A longtime creative.
All I can do is art. I love it. I can't imagine life without art.
He wanted a place.
Putting a piece of yourself on the wall.
To display his works.
Some have a lot of emotion and a lot of me in it.
Without judgment.
You can't please everyone.
Now, 31 Art Gallery has become his way of giving back to the St. Louis art scene.
I'm happy to do something for people that would have been awesome if someone had done for me at a younger age.
By giving passionate local artists
that really feel that they're doing art, and they say it for art's sake.
A place to be seen.
The excitement they get being able to show maybe for the first time, that means a lot to me.
And for Jared?
Sometimes you go into a gallery or a place, you just don't feel like you belong there.
It means a lot for the works to be viewed in a comfortable environment.
I wanted to have a place where everyone felt welcome. I don't care who you are. I'm happy that you're here, and I want you here.
And in this welcoming,
just so many great things have happened, so many great people we've met.
Inconspicuous place, Jared Minnick has created a way to make his mark in St. Louis art.
It's just been better than we could have ever dreamed of.
Still ahead, signed, sealed, but not delivered. The missing factor that could keep your mail-in ballot from the ballot box.
And Brent, boy, that morning low was 40 in St. Louis, but 31 in Chesterfield, some areas of frost. Then we made it to 68, so a little bit above average. We're going much higher than this. We'll talk about a near record high on Tuesday coming up.
Well, millions of people will mail in their ballots for the upcoming election, and for many of them, it means figuring out how much postage to use. Brandon Lewis from our National Verified team looks into what happens if you don't use enough postage.
Let's be honest, we've all guessed a time or two about how heavy something is before putting it in the mail and hoped it wouldn't come back for having insufficient postage. But you probably wouldn't want to take a chance with your ballot. Some people are worried about how much postage to use, if it's needed at all, and what happens if they guess wrong. So let's verify. Will the Postal Service deliver ballots if they don't have enough postage? Our sources are the U.S. Postal Service and the National Conference of State Legislatures. In 19 states and D.C., no postage is required to mail in a ballot. If you live elsewhere, it depends on your election officials, and you may be responsible for the postage. Many ballots need just a single first-class stamp, but if there's a lot on the ballot making it extra bulky, then you'll likely need a second stamp if it weighs more than an ounce. But it's not the end of the world if you miscalculate the postage your ballot needs. The USPS says they'll still deliver it because ballots get special handling over regular mail. So, yes, the Postal Service will deliver ballots if they don't have enough postage. But election officials and your tax dollars might foot the bill for the missing stamps. And if you really don't want to pay for postage, many places have drop boxes that you can use for free. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Well, what can we verify for you? Email us at verify@ksdk.com. Getting down to your weather impact forecast, meteorologist Jim Castillo is standing by. Jim, earlier you showed photos of some costumes. I think I saw the Addams Family earlier.
Yeah, you know, and I can go back and look at them again. There's one right there. I did love the Addams Family. Cousin It is the dog, which, you know, one of my favorite shows. It's an old show. I'm not sure if the kids know what that is. But, you know, if you're stepping outside right now, look at the Enterprise Center. Instead of green, it's got purple on it. You know, that's fantastic. Changes colors a little bit. Temperatures range from 36 at Mount Vernon to about 43 Chesterfield. And here's that warmer air working into the western portions of the viewing area. So 57 at Rolla. And high pressure gave us a really cold start to this morning, some areas of frost. It's over the Great Lakes and it's moving on to the east. And now we're starting to see the backside of that high, warmer air, that southerly wind that will start to really get gusty as we get into the next 3 days here. But it's clear tonight, high clouds starting to move in. So tomorrow, sun and clouds mixed. And starting out most areas, low 40s outside of St. Louis, 49 in the city. Then it's a breezy day. And look at this high, 78. That should be below the record high temperature. But Tuesday we get close to the record. It could actually tie it or break it. But the gust out there, that's what we're going to talk about. Wind gust to 26, 7 miles an hour tomorrow. And then Tuesday, over 30 miles an hour, possibly as high as 40, and same on Wednesday. So again, secure maybe the trash cans or chairs that are outside on the deck. Wind gusts 20, 35 plus for a couple of days here. And then on Halloween, this is what we're expecting. Only in the morning hours, a chance of rain. So by trick-or-treat time, it looks pretty good. Futurecast showing a chance of rain in here Wednesday night, maybe some thunderstorms also. We'll watch to see if we get some heavier rain. Here, that's indicated right there in yellow, overnight into very early on Thursday morning, Halloween morning. And then it really clears up, which is fantastic. We do need the rain. We're in this drought situation, very dry air in place here. And then next weekend, look what happens. We actually see another chance of rain in here. So we've got the wind and warm weather as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. Halloween morning rain, and then we're clearing up and 66. Friday, 63 and dry. And then Brent looks like some rain next weekend.
Time to go on the move. I'm Paul Cook, your traffic guy from Today in St. Louis. Okay, this one will definitely cause delays on I-270 just north of 6440 in Creve Coeur. Road construction in that area was a big problem for drivers all summer, and it's not letting up. Now, MoDOT is closing the Ladue exit on northbound 270 so crews can rebuild that intersection. It's part of a bigger plan to widen the 270 bridge over Ladue Road. MoDOT expects to keep the ramp closed for 35 days, so all the way into early December. If you use 270 north to Ladue, you'll want to take an alternate route. So I suggest staying on 270 until Olive, then make a couple of right turns and head south on New Ballas to get where you need to go. The road construction on I-270, the gift that keeps on giving. Be safe out there. Paul Cook, 5 on your side.
Even more news ahead. The vote that could change how you vote. Secretary of State candidates sit down with 5 on your side, explaining what they want to see on Election Day. Well, coming up tonight on The Record, the Democrat and Republican running to be Missouri's next Secretary of State sit down to discuss their campaigns. State Senator Denny Hoskins won the hotly contested Republican primary to be the nominee. He tells political editor Mark Maxwell he envisions a different process for counting ballots than the current one.
I believe that our elections should be safe and secure, and we need people that have confidence in our elections. You know, people have asked, why the Secretary of State? Why run for Secretary of State? Why is that important? And it all boils down to elections and having confidence in our elections. If we don't believe that our elections are safe and secure, then it doesn't matter who they say. When President, Governor, Secretary of State, city council, school board, chaos will ensue. So I want to make sure that our elections are safe and secure.
And just doing the rough math here, you've been elected how many times?
I was elected 4 times as a state representative and twice as a state senator. So
I'm no accountant. That's 6 times.
Yes, 6 times.
Hope it going for 7.
Yes.
Did you trust those elections?
I did trust those elections. In fact, back in 2008, my first election, out of 14,000 votes cast, I won by 122 votes. And so we actually had a recount in my election. We went back and looked at those ballots individually.
And in every time, I just came back from the St. Louis County Election Board where early voting is already underway, and the election officials there, they use voting machines to tabulate, count the ballots. You don't trust those?
You know, I do have some concerns about the election machines, mainly, you know, most recently in June of 2024 in Puerto Rico, which is a territory of the United States, they had Dominion voting machines. And after the election, they weren't able to reconcile the difference between the election machines and the paper ballots. So I do have some concerns about the election machines. And most
in Puerto Rico?
Well, I mean, it's the same machine. Dominion voting machines are being used all over the United States as well.
And you understand the liability that broadcast outlets like Fox News took on when they ran wild with claims about what Dominion voting machines had to do with the outcome in 2020. Certainly you're not making those claims.
No, I'm not making those claims, but you know, like I said, most recently you can just Google Puerto Rico 2024 primary Dominion voting machines, and you see that, hey, they weren't able to reconcile those differences. And
that brings me to the point that the election commissioners in St. Louis County, the largest local election authority in the entire state, made to us just this week, which was, in every instance when they had to open up the voting machines, take out the paper ballots, and recount by hand the counts in close races that they already counted by machine, in every instance, they were not able to discern any distinguishable difference between the hand count and the machine count. Does that give you greater confidence that the machines worked properly?
Well, that does give me greater confidence, but you know, we need to look at the election machines and make sure that they are accurately counting those. And when I've traveled across this great state, there's been a lot of voters here in the state of Missouri that have concerns about the election machines. And so we can look at, you know, maybe at the same time while we're going through the election machines and having those count the votes, also hand count those at the same time. I mean, we hand counted ballots for...
At the same time?
Yes, we've hand counted ballots for years and years and years. We've only had election.
Do you know why they went away from it?
About 20 years.
Do you know, longer than that, do you know why they went away from hand count to machines?
Well, they thought that it would be more accurate with machines.
There was a lot of fraud with hand counting. Yes. There was a lot of manipulation. People, election judges who could sneak in a little smudge on a ballot here and spoil it, or they could do. You're introducing a lot more risk, aren't you?
I don't believe so. There's risk no matter if you're hand counting ballots or if you have election machines.
All right, Hoskins' opponent is Representative Barbara Pfeiffer. The Democrat also discussed her desire to keep elections secure but also accessible.
In terms of early voting, I think it's a great idea. But of course, we follow the law. In terms of absentee ballots, I think it's a great idea, but we follow the law. In terms of using voting machines, I think it's a really important thing, but we follow the law. That's what the Secretary of State does. Now, when you talk about voter ID, we have some real problems in areas of Missouri with people having access to voter IDs, especially rural areas.
Even though the state says it will pay the costs for those voter IDs?
Yeah, but the reason is not the cost. The reason is getting access to them. Because we have areas where it's very hard to get a driver's license or to get a non-driver's license ID.
Why is that?
Because the DMVs are closing shop and leaving the rural areas. They can't make enough money with the current fee structure. And so we've had DMVs closing across the state. We've even had that here in the city of St. Louis. So one of the things that I've been researching is the idea of mobile units. And in Michigan, for example, that's what they do in rural areas.
So taking a driver's license printer to them?
Well, and not just the printer, also all the computers.
The administration gear.
Yes, exactly. And Michigan has been doing this for a couple of years. And in fact, they're expanding the program. And I would really love to see us doing that.
This has been an interesting conversation in how we can make it easier to vote. Let's shift now to what we can do to make it harder to cheat. Anything you would do there?
We don't have a problem with cheating in Missouri. So I think sometimes we have solutions in search of a problem. And certainly if we have evidence of cheating, we need to find out what that is and work on it. Again, that's something for the legislature to do.
Part of it is in administrating voter rolls, like who's a current voter, who's moved in or out of state, who's died.
Right.
And the current Secretary of State scrapped ERIC, the Electronic Registration Information Center. There are other alternatives to it, and there's ERIC itself. Would you bring ERIC back, something else, something similar? Does the state need to have a way to speak to other states to know when a voter...
I think it's a good idea. I really do. And ERIC is bipartisan. I have never really understood the argument to scrap it. I'm certainly open to looking at other systems. I think whichever is going to be most effective for Missouri. We have to remember that it's local counties that really are doing the voter rolls. And so the Secretary of State needs to give whatever help they need. But certainly this issue of people moving across state lines, it happens all the time. And it just doesn't make sense to me that we're kind of putting one hand behind our back by not participating in ERIC.
There you have it. Much more of these conversations tonight on The Record, which is right after Sports Plus.
All right, the 3-day forecast showing very warm air in here. In fact, Tuesday, very close to a record, and we might actually hit it or break it in the mid-80s. And it gets really windy, and then that chance of rain comes late Wednesday night. A little bit more on that coming up. Okay, 7-day forecast showing those 80s Tuesday and Wednesday, near record high Tuesday, then that rain chance. In fact, likely Wednesday night into early on Halloween, and then we clear up.
All right, we like clearing up. That's all of our time, my friends. Thanks for staying up late with us. And remember, we're always streaming on 5+.